Welcome to the Timeless Voice, where stories echo across generations. Today, we dive into the extraordinary legacy of BTS, a force that transcends borders, languages, and genres. This isn't just about music, it's about power, purpose, and the people they inspire. Let's talk about BTS, also known in Korean as Bangtan Boys, which literally means Bulletproof Boy Scouts. You might also know them as the Bangtan Boys. They're a globally famous South Korean boy band that was formed back in 2010. The group is made up of 7 incredibly talented members: Jin, Suga, J-Hope, RM, Jimin, V, and Jungkook. What's cool is that they don't just perform. They also co-write and co-produce most of their music. Now, they started out mainly in hip-hop, but over time, their sound has evolved to include all kinds of musical styles, and their lyrics, they dive deep. Topics like mental health, the struggles of growing up, self-love, fame, and even philosophical ideas all show up in their songs. There's even an entire fictional universe that plays out across their music and videos. BTS officially debuted in 2013 under Big Hit Entertainment with their first single album, Too Cool for School. By 2014, they had released their first full albums in both Korean, Dark and Wild, and Japanese, Wake Up. Their 2016 album Wings was a massive hit. It sold over 1 million copies in South Korea alone. By 2017, BTS wasn't just a K-pop group anymore. They had gone global. They helped lead the Korean wave into the U.S., becoming the first Korean act to get a gold certification from the Recording Industry Association of America for their single Mic Drop. In 2018, they made history again by topping the Billboard 200 chart with Love Yourself, Tear, a first for a South Korean group. Then came 2020, and BTS achieved something huge. They became the fastest group since the Beatles to earn 4 #1 albums in the U.S. in under 2 years. They're under 2 years. Their album Love Yourself, Answer even became the first Korean album to go platinum. And that's not all. Their hit Dynamite made them the first all-South Korean act to hit #1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the Billboard Global. After that, it was one hit after another. Savage Love, Life Goes On, Butter, Permission to Dance, and My Universe. With these songs, they became the fastest act since the Beatles in 1966 to score 6 #1 singles in the U.S. As of 2023, BTS is the best-selling musical act in South Korean history. They've sold over 40 million albums. Their 2020 release Map of the Soul 7 is the 4th best-selling album ever in South Korea, and the first to cross both 4 and 5 million sales. They've broken barriers all over the world, becoming the first non-English-speaking and Asian act to sell out iconic venues like Wembley Stadium in London and the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles during their 2019 Love Yourself World Tour. They were also named the Global Recording Artist of the Year by the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry in both 2020 and 2021. Along with their many music awards, including American Music Awards, Billboard Music Awards, Golden Disc Awards, and multiple Grammy nominations, BTS also uses their platform for good. They've spoken at the United Nations General Assembly not just once, but 3 times, and they partnered with UNICEF in 2017 to launch the Love Myself campaign to end violence. BTS has made waves not just in music, but in global culture. They were featured on the cover of Time magazine as Next Generation Leaders, and were even called the Princes of Pop. From 2017 to 2019, they made Time's list of the 25 most influential people on the internet. And in 2019, they were named among the 100 most influential people in the world. And here's something truly special. In 2018, BTS became the youngest ever recipients of South Korea's Order of Cultural Merit, a prestigious honor for their role in spreading Korean culture and language around the globe. Fast forward to May 2022, the group visited the White House in Washington, D.C., to speak on issues like anti-Asian hate. The moment was powerful, with all 7 members, V. Jungkook, Jimin, RM, Jin, J-Hope, and Suga, standing side by side, representing both their music and their message. Then on June 14, 2022, BTS made a big announcement. They'd be taking a pause from group activities so each member could complete South Korea's mandatory 18-month military service. Jin, being the eldest, enlisted first on December 13, 2022. The rest followed throughout 2023. But don't worry, they've already shared plans for a reunion in 2025. Let's talk a bit about their background, too. BTS is also known by several names: Bangtan Boys, Bangtan Sonyeondan, Beyond the Scene, and of course, Bulletproof Boy Scouts. They originally come from Seoul, South Korea, and their music spans a variety of genres, from K-pop and pop to hip-hop, R&B, and EDM. Now, what does BTS really mean? The name comes from the Korean phrase Bangtan Sonyeondan, which literally translates to Bulletproof Boy Scouts. As member J-Hope once explained, the name reflects their mission to protect young people from stereotypes, criticisms, and expectations that are thrown at them like bullets. In Japan, they're known as Bodan Shonendan, which carries the same meaning. And in July 2017, BTS added a new layer to their identity, announcing that the name would also stand for Beyond the Scene. This new meaning represents the journey of personal growth, going from boys to adults who face their future head-on and open doors to new possibilities. Let's take a look back at the early history of BTS, how it all began. The story starts in 2010, when Bang Si-hyuk, the CEO of Big Hit Entertainment, had the idea to form a hip-hop group centered around ARM, whose real name is Kim Nam-joon. At the time, RM was already making a name for himself as an underground rapper in Seoul's music scene. Back then, physical album sales were dropping fast, and digital streaming hadn't picked up enough to make up the difference. So, Bang made a strategic pivot. Instead of a traditional hip-hop group, he decided to form an idol group, one that could thrive through concerts, fan support, and diverse revenue streams. It wasn't an easy sell. Many trainees weren't interested in becoming idols, but ARM stuck around. Along with J-Hope and Suga, Bang wanted to do things differently. Instead of creating a perfectly polished idol group where everyone had to follow the same formula, he wanted each member to shine as an individual, to express themselves freely through their music. Auditions kicked off in 2010, and the plan was to launch the group the following year. The members lived together, trained intensely, sometimes practicing up to 15 hours a day, and after years of hard work, they finally performed. For the first time in 2013, in front of a small crowd of industry insiders. As Suga later explained, we started to tell the stories that people wanted to hear, the stories no one else was saying. We talked about pain, anxiety, and pressure. Our goal was to create empathy, something people could really connect with. Because BTS was signed under Big Hit, not one of the big 3 K-pop agencies, they had more creative freedom. Each member had a say in their work and a chance to bring their own personality into the spotlight. On June 12, 2013, BTS officially debuted with their single album Too Cool for School, featuring the lead track No More Dream. It wasn't an instant hit, but it made a bold statement. The next day, on June 13th, they had their first stage performance on M Countdown. The song No More Dream touched a nerve. It highlighted the stress young people feel under the weight of their parents' expectations. According to author Kathy Sprinkle, it shook up the K-pop world. Here was a group unafraid to speak out, tackle taboo subjects, and stand for something real. The album even reached the top 5 on South Korea's Gaon music chart, and its gritty old-school 90s hip-hop sound helped BTS stand out from the crowd. As they performed on music shows, more people began to take notice, fans and critics alike. In September of 2013, they dropped the second part of what would become their school trilogy, the Epio Rulite 2, along with the single NO. Like their debut, this project tackled heavy themes, especially the pressure students face to give up their dreams in order to succeed in a rigid education system. Scholar Hyun noted that songs like N, O, and No More Dream were acts of rebellion. They gave voice to young people's frustrations, especially in South Korea, but also resonating with fans across North America and Europe. That same month, BTS took on their own variety show called Rookie King. Channel Bangtan on SBS MTV. It gave fans a chance to see their fun side as they parodied popular shows like VJ Special Forces and MasterChef Korea. By the end of 2013, BTS had earned several new Artist of the Year awards, marking the start of what would become a truly legendary career. Let's dive into BTS's next chapter, the years 2014 to 2017, when their popularity really began to soar. In February 2014, BTS released Gul Love Affair, the final piece of their school trilogy. The EAP was a big hit, reaching #1 on Korea's Gaon album chart, and even making it to #3 on Billboard's World Albums chart. Their first time landing there. The album featured 2 standout tracks, Boy in Louvre and Just One Day. Not long after the EAP's release, the group held their very first fan meeting in Seoul, and that's when they officially chose the name ARMY for their global fan base. That summer, BTS made their first appearance in the U.S. as they hosted a concert in West Hollywood in July, and then performed at Cannes in Los Angeles in August, a huge step in introducing themselves to international fans. In the same month, they released their first full-length Korean album, Dark and Wild, which hit #2 on the South Korean charts. Album featured singles like Danger and War of Hormone. Around this time, BTS also kicked off their first concert tour, 2014, BT's live trilogy episode Divide, The Red Bullet. It ran from October through December. December 2014 marked another milestone, the release of their first Japanese-language studio album, Wake Up. It debuted at #3 on Japan's Oricon Albums chart, and in February 2015, the group held their Wanest Japan tour, Wake Up, Open Your Eyes. The Red Bullet Tour picked back up in June 2015, continuing through cities across Malaysia, Australia, North America, Latin America, and finally ending in Hong Kong that August. Altogether, they visited 18 cities in 13 countries, performing in front of over 80 fans. But this period wasn't just about concerts, it was also a major turning point in their musical style and message. In 2015, BTS released The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, PT1. With this album, they explored a broader sound beyond just hip-hop and leaned into a more emotional theme, the bittersweet beauty of youth. In Korean, the phrase they used was Hwaengyeonwa, which poetically means the most beautiful moment in life. This marked the beginning of what fans now call the Youth Trilogy, a 3-part series focused on the trials and emotions of young people. The lead single, I Need You, became a top 5 hit in South Korea, and even scored BTS their first win on a major music show, SBS MTV's The Show. Then came Dope, another massive hit. It climbed to number 3 on Billboard's World Digital Song Sales chart, and its music video quickly racked up over 100 million views on YouTube. A huge moment for their global reach. Meanwhile, the group continued touring with the 2015 live trilogy episode Sue, the Red Bullet extension, performing all across Asia, Oceania, North America, and Latin America. And in June 2015, they dropped their Japanese single For You, along with Japanese versions of War of Hormone and Let Me Know. The release shot straight to the top of Oricon's daily chart in Japan. This was the period when BTS truly started to break into the global scene, a mix of relentless effort, deeper storytelling, and a growing connection with fans around the world. In November 2015, BTS kicked off their third concert tour, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, on stage, with 3 completely sold-out shows in Seoul. The tour coincided with the release of their 4th EP, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, which later expanded into shows in Japan. This album took a more serious turn, digging deeper into themes like chasing success, loneliness, staying connected to one's roots, and the harsh realities faced by the younger generation in society. The EAP was a hit. It topped both Korea's Gaon album chart and Billboard's World Albums chart. Even more notably, it marked BT's very first appearance on the Billboard 200, coming in at number 171. 8 of its tracks also charted on Billboard's World Digital Song Sales chart, a strong sign of the group's growing international momentum. The final chapter of their youth trilogy, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Young Forever, was released on May 2, 2016. With over 300 pre-orders, the compilation included new songs like Epilogue, Young Forever, Fire, and Save Me. All 3 debuted in the top 3 on Billboard's World Digital Songs chart. The album dominated South Korea's Gaon album chart for 2 straight weeks and reached number 107 on the Billboard 200. It later won Album of the Year at the 2016 Melon Music Awards. BTS followed this release with a tour extension, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life on Stage, Epilogue, spanning May to August 2016 across 10 Asian cities. The demand was so high that tickets for some shows sold out in just 5 seconds. Then, in September 2016, BTS released their second Japanese studio album, Youth. It sold nearly 45,000 copies on its first day and went on to be certified gold in Japan with over 100,000 sales. The very next month, BTS dropped their next Korean studio album, Wings. This project blended the earlier youth-focused themes with heavier concepts like temptation and inner struggle. It was a massive success, topping charts in South Korea and hitting number 1 on iTunes in 23 countries. Wings debuted at number 26 on the Billboard 200, setting a new record for the highest-charting K-pop album in U.S. history at the time. It also became the best-selling album ever on the Gaon album chart. In February 2017, BTS released a repackaged version of Wings called You Never Walk Alone. With 700 pre-orders, it broke South Korea's record for the most albums sold in a single month. 49 million copies. The lead single Spring Day was a heartfelt anthem and won Best Song of the Year at the 2017 Melon Music Awards. That same month, BTS began their second world tour, the Wings Tour. They performed in arenas across the U.S., including major venues like the Prudential Center in New Jersey and Honda Center in California. The North American leg sold out within hours, prompting the addition of more shows. Then, in May 2017, BTS made history at the 24th Billboard Music Awards by winning Top Social Artist. They were the first K-pop group ever to win a Billboard award. With over 300 million fan votes cast, BTS broke Justin Bieber's 6-year streak, a clear sign of the global power of the ARMY. That July, BTS released a modern remake of SEO Taeji's 1995 hit Come Back Home, preserving its message of social reform but adding fresh lyrics. Later in 2017, BTS launched their Love Yourself series, a new era built around the idea of discovering self-love. They followed a classic Korean narrative structure known as Jiseonjeongyo, which means beginning, development, twist, and conclusion. The first part of this series was Love Yourself, released on September 18. ARM described the lead single DNA as a bold step into new musical territory. He said, "I believe this album is the starting point of Chapter 2 in our career." Musically, it struck a balance between bright electropop and BT's signature hip-hop sound, signaling a fresh, confident evolution in their artistry. Love Yourself, marked a huge leap forward for BTS. When it debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200, it wasn't just a new high for the group, it was a milestone for K-pop. The album dominated the Gaon chart in May 2017 with over 1.6 million copies sold, becoming the first Korean release in 16 years to surpass 1.2 million in sales, a record last held by God's Chapter 4 in 2001. The lead single, DNA, dropped alongside the album and made an immediate impact. Its music video racked up 21 million views within just 24 hours. DNA also became BTS's first song to break into the Billboard Hot 100, debuting at number 85 and climbing to 67 the following week. At the time, it was the highest charting track ever. For a K-pop group, BTS continued to make history with Mic Drop, a remix of which featured rapper Designer. The single soared to number 28 on the Hot 100, making BTS the first K-pop group to break into the U.S. Top 40. Both DNA and Mic Drop were later certified gold by the RIAA in early 2018. And Mic Drop went even further, becoming BTS's first platinum-certified single in the U.S. in November 2017. BTS hit another milestone. They became the first K-pop group ever to perform at the American Music Awards. The following month, they were named Artist of the Year at the 19th Met Asian Music Awards, their second win in a row. BTS also made moves in Japan. On December 6, 2017, they released a single album featuring DNA, Mic Drop, and a new song titled Crystal Snow. The release topped Japan's Oricon chart and stood out as the only foreign album in 2017 to be certified double platinum in the country. Their visibility kept climbing. They made their debut on Japanese primetime TV with a performance on music station Super Live, and later closed out the year with a high-profile performance on Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin', even the U.S., but BTS wasn't just making waves with music, they were also using their platform to advocate for change. In 2017, they launched the Love Myself campaign in partnership with UNICEF. The initiative aimed to end violence and bullying while promoting self-worth and mental well-being among young people. Both BTS and Big Hit Entertainment pledged financial support, released special merchandise, and set up booths at concerts to raise awareness. The campaign's impact was so strong, it was renewed in 2021, with UNICEF calling it a success. 2018 to 2020, the Love Yourself era. The momentum for BTS didn't slow down in 2018. In fact, it skyrocketed. They kicked off the year by winning big at the Golden Disc and Soul Music Awards. Then, in March, they gave fans unprecedented behind-the-scenes access with Burn the Stage, an 8-part documentary chronicling their Wings tour released exclusively on YouTube Premium. In April, BTS dropped their third Japanese studio album, Face Yourself, which immediately shot into the top 5 on the US iTunes Albums chart. Just one day later, they released a cinematic 9-minute short film titled Euphoria, theme of Love Yourself, wonder previewing the emotional tone of what was to come. That turn arrived with Love Yourself, Tear, released on May 18, 2018. Just 2 days later, BTS made their live debut at the Billboard Music Awards, performing Fake Love and taking home the Top Social Artist Award for the second year in a row. Tear explored the heartbreak of loving without being loved, the pain of separation, and the struggle of those who feel directionless. The album made history. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, making BTS the first Korean act to top the US albums chart. In the UK, it landed at number 8, their first top 10 album there. Meanwhile, Fake Love broke records as the first non-English language song to debut in the Hot 100's top 10. That August, BTS released Love Yourself, Answer, the final installment of the trilogy, featuring the lead single Idol with a digital version featuring Nicki Minaj. The album sold over 1.9 million copies on Korea's Gaon chart in its first month. It became BTS' second album to top the Billboard 200 and logged their biggest U.S. sales week at that point. Both the album and Idol went platinum in the U.S., with over 1 million units sold. And in a historic moment, Answer became the first Korean-language album to be certified gold by the RIA. Coinciding with its release, BTS launched their Love Yourself World Tour. The kickoff in Seoul's Olympic Stadium sold out in seconds, as did the rest of the 22 shows across 12 countries. In October, they released Wasted on Me, a collaboration with Steve Aoki, and their first all-English track. That same month, BTS became the first Korean act to headline a U.S. stadium show, performing at Citi Field in New York. By year's end, BTS was the second best-selling global touring act, right behind Ed Sheeran. They also renewed their contract with Big Hit Entertainment through 2026. But the year wasn't without controversy. In November, a scheduled Japanese TV appearance was canceled over a shirt one member had worn the previous year, which depicted an image of the Nagasaki atomic bombing. Around the same time, the Simon Wiesenthal Center criticized BTS for clothing and flags that appeared to reference Nazi imagery. Big Hit issued an apology, emphasizing that the items were never intended to offend. The apology was accepted by both the Wiesenthal Center and the Korean Atomic Bomb Victim Association. Despite the controversy, BTS continued to rise. At the 20th Met Asian Music Awards, they won Artist of the Year again. Billboard ranked them the 8th top artist of 2018 and the second most popular group of the year, just behind Imagine Dragons. Bloomberg even named BTS among the 50 most influential people in the world, citing their courage to speak openly about mental health, societal pressure, and politics, rare ground for a K-pop act. 2019, the map of the Seoul era and stadium takeover. 2019 marked yet another milestone-filled chapter in BTS's global rise. In February, they made their debut as presenters at the Grammy Awards, a historic moment for any K-pop group. Just a few months later, Time magazine honored BTS by placing them on its prestigious Time 100 list, recognizing them as one of the most influential people in the world. On April 12, BTS released Map of the Soul, Persona, an EP that took both critics and fans by storm. Featuring the infectious lead single Boy with Louvre with American pop star Halsey, the release marked a new high in their global popularity. BTS became the first Korean act to perform on Saturday Night Live, opening their music up to an even broader Western audience. The success was astronomical. Persona topped the charts in both the UK and Australia, the first Korean-language album to do so, and it became BTS's third album to hit #1 on the Billboard 200 in less than a year. Within just a month, Map of the Soul, Persona sold over 3.2 million physical copies, setting a new all-time record in South Korea. Boy with Love debuted at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100, breaking the record for the highest charting K-pop song in U.S. history at that time. In May, BTS won 2 major categories at the Billboard Music Awards, including Top Duo Group. Then came Love Yourself, Speak Yourself, the Stadium World Tour extension. Tickets vanished within hours, forcing organizers to add more shows due to overwhelming demand. As fans awaited the launch of their new mobile game BTS World, the group rolled out a series of collaborations. In June, they released Dream Glow with Charlie XCX, A Brand New Day with Zara Larsson, and All Night with Juice WRLD, all part of the BTS World official soundtrack. The main track Heartbeat came with its own cinematic music video, and the soundtrack eventually earned double platinum certification from GAN. The Japanese single Lights was another record breaker. It surpassed 1 million pre-orders, a feat last achieved in Japan by Celine Dion back in 1995. Lights debuted on the Billboard Japan Hot 100 at number 81, climbing to number 1 the very next week. By August, it had earned million certification from the Riage. That same month, Love Yourself, Her and Love Yourself, Tear each crossed 2 million in sales. In fact, all 3 albums in the Love Yourself series exceeded 2 million units sold in South Korea. In the UK, Tear received silver certification from the BPI, BTS' third album to do so. The Speak Yourself tour wrapped in dramatic fashion with final performances at Seoul's Olympic Stadium. BTS ended 2019 as the third top-grossing global touring act, behind only Ed Sheeran and Pink. They also dropped a remix of Make It Right featuring Lauv, adding another English-language collaboration to their discography. Awards season brought more dominance. At the 2019 American Music Awards, BTS won Best Tour, Favorite Duo or Group, Pop Rock, and Favorite Social Artist for the second year in a row. Then came a groundbreaking moment. BTS became the first group ever to sweep all 4 Daesang grand prizes at both the 2019 Melon Music Awards and the 2019 Asian Music Awards. The accolades didn't stop there. At the 34th Golden Disc Awards, BTS became the first artists to win both the digital and physical Daesangs in the same year. According to Nielsen Music, Map of the Soul, Persona was the second best-selling physical album in the U.S. in 2019, right behind Taylor Swift's Lover. It ranked 6th overall in total sales across all formats. They wrapped up the year as the 4th highest-ranked group on Billboard's top Billboard 200 artists duo group ranking, sitting alongside legends like Queen, Imagine Dragons, and the Beatles. Finally, the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry, IPI, named Map of the Soul, Persona the 3rd best-selling album globally for 2019, making BTS the first Korean artist to appear on the global top 10 album chart 2 years in a row. They were also listed among the best-selling artists of the year, the first non-English-speaking act to achieve that distinction. 2020. Map of the Soul, 7. Dynamite, and the year BTS redefined global pop. The year 2020 began with BTS breaking artistic ground. In January, they unveiled Black Swan, the first single from their upcoming album Map of the Soul, 7. Instead of a traditional music video, they released a stunning choreography art film performed by Slovenia's An's company, a bold, cinematic introduction to their next chapter. Anticipation for the album skyrocketed. Distributor Dreamus reported over 4.2 million stock pre-orders, a record in South Korea. Later that month, BTS made history again. They became the first Korean act to perform at the Grammy Awards. Map of the Soul, 7 dropped on February 21 to critical acclaim. Featuring the powerful single On, including a digital version with Sia, the album was a reflection on the group's journey and inner struggles. In just 9 days, it sold over 4.1 million copies, officially becoming the best-selling album in South Korean history, and the first to be certified quadruple million by the John chart. In the U.S. Map of the Soul, 7 debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. This made BTS the fastest group since the Beatles, back in the 1960s, to earn 4 number 1 albums. Meanwhile, On debuted at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, giving BTS their first top 5 hit and their third top 10 entry overall, the most ever for a Korean act at the time. A massive world tour was planned, the Map of the Soul tour, but like many events in 2020, it was postponed indefinitely due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Still, BTS adapted. In April, they crossed another major threshold. Over 20 million albums sold cumulatively, making them the best-selling artists in South Korean history. As live events were canceled worldwide, BTS turned to digital platforms. That same month, they hosted Bang Bang Con, a 2-day YouTube event featuring past concert footage. It gave armies around the globe a chance to connect virtually. They followed it up in June with Bang Bang Con, the Live, a paid online concert celebrating their 7th anniversary. It attracted a record-breaking 756,000 viewers from 107 countries, the largest audience ever for a paid virtual concert at the time. In June, BTS also headlined YouTube's Dear Class of 2020 graduation special, performing Boy with Louvre, Spring Day, and Mikrokosmos, and delivering heartfelt speeches in Korean and English, messages of encouragement for a generation facing a world in crisis. The group continued to make waves in Japan with Stay Gold, a single from their Japanese album Map of the Soul, 7, The Journey. Released in July, it sold over 564,000 copies in its first week, setting a new record for a foreign male act in Japan. Then came Dynamite, and everything changed. On August 21st, BTS released their first full English-language single. Dynamite debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making BTS the first all-South Korean act to top the chart. It also made history by simultaneously topping the Billboard Global 200 and Global, excluding U.S. charts, the first song ever to do so. Dynamite went on to become BTS's first top 10 entry on both the Billboard Pop Singles and Mainstream Top 40 charts, peaking at number 5. They made their MTV Velma's debut shortly after, performing Dynamite live and sweeping 4 awards: Best Group, Best Choreography, Best K-Pop, and Best Pop Video for On. In October, BTS performed at the Billboard Music Awards, taking home Top Social Artist for the 4th consecutive year. They also teamed up with Jason Derulo and Josh 685 for a remix of Savage Love, which went on to top the Billboard Hot 100. their second #1 single. To connect with fans again, BTS hosted Map of the Soul on E!, a 2-day virtual concert in October that drew nearly 1 million viewers from 191 countries. On November 20th, they released their 5th Korean studio album, B, a deeply personal project reflecting the uncertainty and hope of the pandemic era. The lead single, Life Goes On, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming the first song sung primarily in Korean to achieve this, and BTS's third #1 in just 3 months. Just days later, BTS earned their first ever Grammy nomination when Dynamite was recognized in the Best Pop Duo Group Performance category, another first for a Korean act. They also received the Special International Music Award at Japan's 60th Record Awards. In a year when the world stood still, BTS soared, not just in charts or records, but in heart and resilience. As scholar Kim Hyun-soo noted, while 2020 was the worst year for many, it became a landmark year for Korean culture, with Parasite winning Best Picture at the Oscars and BTS scoring 3 Billboard #1s and global recognition in the midst of uncertainty. 2021 to present, Butter, Permission to Dance, and the proof of BTS's global legacy, the momentum BTS built through 2020, didn't slow down. It evolved into something historic. On March 4, 2021, the FBI named BTS its Global Recording Artist of the Year for 2020. It was a groundbreaking moment. BTS became the first Asian and first non-English-speaking act to top the global chart. They didn't just break records, they dominated the global album scene. Map of the Soul, 7 and B, Deluxe Edition, held the #1 and 2 spots, respectively, on the global album sales chart. Even their Japanese album Map of the Soul, 7 The Journey, came in at #8. On the newly introduced global album all-format chart, they took 1st and 4th place. Later that month, BTS performed Dynamite at the 63rd Grammy Awards, the first Korean act to do so as nominees. Although they didn't take home a trophy, the performance was a defining step on the world stage. In April, they returned with Film Out, the lead single from their Japanese compilation album BTS, The Best. They also hosted Bang Bang Con 21, another online event featuring 3 of their past concerts, connecting with millions of fans worldwide. Then came Butter. Released on May 21st, Butter was their second full English-language single. It exploded onto the Billboard Hot 100 at #1, their 4th chart topper in just 9 months. The speed was historic. BTS became the fastest group since the Jackson 5 in 1970, and the quickest act since Justin Timberlake in 2006 to earn 4 Hot 100 #1s. On July 9, they followed it with Permission to Dance. Another global hit, it extended their record on Billboard's digital song sales chart, becoming their 8th #1 on that list, the most for any group. Just months later, they teamed up with Coldplay for My Universe. Released on September 24th, the single made history again. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming the first ever collaboration between 2 groups to debut at the top. It also gave BTS their 6th Hot 100 #1, with the fastest run to 6 chart toppers since the Beatles between 1964 and 1966. The group returned to the virtual stage on October 24 with Permission to Dance on Stage, streamed live from Seoul. A month later, Butter received a Grammy nomination for Best Pop Duo Group Performance, their second nod in that category. But the real emotional high came between November 27 and December 2, 2021, when BTS returned to in-person concerts. They played 4 sold-out shows at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. their first live audience performances since the pandemic began. In January 2022, BTS made their mark in a different medium. Their original webtoon, Seven Fates, Choco, launched on Webtoon and immediately broke records, becoming the platform's most viewed debut title with over 15 million views in 2 days. In March, they performed 3 concerts at the Seoul Olympic Stadium, the largest music gatherings officially approved since South Korea's COVID-19 restrictions had begun. Over 45,000 fans attended across the 3 shows. They performed Butter Again at the 64th Grammy Awards in April. While they didn't win, their James Bond-style stage performance was widely praised. That same month, they received 7 nominations at the Billboard Music Awards and won 3, making them the most awarded and most nominated group in the show's history. Then came proof. On June 10, 2022, BTS released their 3-CD anthology album, celebrating their journey. Proof was both a retrospective and a reaffirmation, packed with hits, unreleased demos, and new tracks that reflected their growth and identity. Just 4 days later, during their 9th anniversary celebration on June 14th, BTS dropped a bombshell. They would be temporarily pausing group activities to focus on solo work. The announcement sparked confusion, panic, and headlines about disbandment. But Hybe Corporation quickly clarified BTS wasn't breaking up. They were evolving. Members would pursue individual careers with full label support, while still participating in group activities like filming their show Run BTS. Still, the news rocked the industry. Hybe's stock plummeted, wiping out $1.7 billion in market value in just hours. But the group had one more unifying moment in 2022. On October 15, BTS reunited for a free benefit concert in Busan under the banner Yet to Come, supporting the city's bid to host the World Expo in 2030. It was a grand reminder that while their paths might temporarily diverge, their impact as a group remained powerful and very much ongoing. Military service and contract renewal, a pause, a promise, and a future rewritten as 2022 came to a close. BTS faced a turning point, one not defined by album releases or sold-out stadiums, but by duty. Despite the triumph of their October 2022 yet-to-come concert in Busan, market uncertainty loomed. Hybe Corporation's stock fell below its original IPO value, largely due to ongoing speculation about BTS mandatory military enlistment, a reality for all. Able-bodied South Korean men, typically required by the age of 28. The stakes were massive. Reports suggested that if all BTS members completed their service, Hybe could lose nearly $10 billion over a decade. The South Korean economy itself could take a hit nearing $39 billion, an extraordinary reflection of the group's cultural and financial impact. In October 2022, Big Hit Music confirmed what many had anticipated. Jin, the eldest member, had withdrawn his enlistment deferral. The others would follow in stages, with a tentative plan to reunite as a group in 2025. Despite the looming hiatus, BTS remained creatively and critically recognized. At the end of October, they earned 5 nominations at the 2022 Mama Awards, with 8 additional solo nominations for the members individually. A few weeks later, on November 15th, they received 3 Grammy nominations, including Best Music Video for Yet to Come and Best Pop Duo Group Performance for My Universe, marking their 3rd consecutive nomination in that category. As featured artists on Coldplay's Music of the Spheres, they were also nominated for Album of the Year. Then, on December 13, 2022, Jin officially enlisted as an active duty soldier. Just a couple of months later, in February 2023, J-Hope submitted his request to cancel his military deferment, signaling the next chapter of enlistments. But BTS wasn't done with their audience just yet. On February 1, 2023, they released BTS, yet to come in cinemas, a concert film capturing the magic of their final group. Performance before the hiatus. In an interview during a trip to Spain, RM offered reassurance. He said, "We will come together again when we finish our military service, and we will look for new synergies to enter a second phase." Even so, uncertainty remained. In March 2023, TWICE chairman Bang Se-hyuk noted that a 2025 comeback was not guaranteed, and that discussions on contract renewals hadn't yet begun. J-Hope began his military service on April 18, 2023, and despite the separations, BTS continued to leave musical breadcrumbs. On May 12, they released The Planet, a soundtrack for the South Korean animated series Bastions. Then, to commemorate their 10th anniversary, they dropped Take 2 on June 9th, a heartfelt message to fans about the future they still believed in. That belief became official in September 2023. On September 20th, HYBE confirmed that BTS had renewed their exclusive contracts with Big Hit Music. Each member would sign sequentially, depending on their military schedule. It was a monumental vote of confidence in each other, in their future, and in their army. HYBE promised continued support for BTA's global endeavors, affirming their place as a group ready to rise again after their service was complete. Enlistments continued. Suga joined as a social worker on September 22. RM and V followed on December 11, with Jimin and Jungkook enlisting on December 12. But the cycle has also started to turn. On June 12, 2024, Jin became the first member to complete his military service, returning to civilian life. And on October 17, J-Hope followed. Two pieces of the puzzle now ready for the next chapter. From stadiums to barracks, BTS has faced this transition with grace, duty, and above all, unity. And though the stage has been quiet for a while, one thing is clear. The second act is already in motion. Influences and musical style, a sound beyond borders. To understand BTS, you have to understand their roots, not just in K-pop, but in the sounds, stories, and philosophies that shaped them. From the very beginning, BTS never limited themselves to one genre or one influence. Their musical DNA draws from hip-hop giants like Nas, Eminem, Kanye West, and Drake, names that shaped their rap-heavy early years. They've also credited Post Malone, Charlie Puth, and Danger as inspirations, adding layers of pop, R&B, and electronic elements into their evolving sound. But it wasn't just about the music. They grew up watching Queen, and their tribute was more than symbolic. During their historic 2019 concert at Wembley Stadium, Jin led tens of thousands of fans in Freddie Mercury's iconic AO chant, a moment of connection across generations and genres. Their track, Hip Hop Philly, name drops legends from both East and West. Epic High, Jay-Z, Notorious B.I.G., TL Smooth, reflecting BT's deep respect for the genre and those who shaped it. But perhaps most compelling is how they wove literature, art, and psychology into their music. Their 2016 album Wings was inspired by Hermann Hesse's Demain, a coming-of-age novel that explores duality and growth. The music video for Blood, Sweat, and Tears is a feast of references, from Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra to visual nods to Bruegel, Herbert Draper, and the fall of Icarus. BTS didn't just sing about love and pain. They embedded philosophical depth. Works by Haruki Murakami, Ursula K. Le Guin, George Orwell, and their Love Yourself series leaned into Erich Fromm's The Art of Loving, while Magic Shop drew directly from neurosurgeon James R. Doty's memoir Into the Magic Shop. This fusion of thought and sound created a body of work unlike anything K-pop had seen before. The evolution of their sound, from ciphers to symphonies. BTS debuted with a strong hip-hop identity, driven by RM and Suga, who both came from underground rap circles. During their early trips to the U.S., they sought mentorship from established American rappers, sharpening their lyrical edge and stage presence. Their early sound was gritty, reflective, a way to speak out about youth struggles, social inequality, and personal doubt. But it didn't stop there. As Bang Si-hyuk, HYBE's founder, pointed out, K-pop inherently borrows from black music traditions, and BTS has often acknowledged that legacy, respectfully merging it with their own style. Critics like Crystal S. Anderson have observed that BTS's growth in the U.S. is a continuation of how K-pop functions globally as an extension of R&B and hip-hop traditions. In tracks like Outro, Horror, from Love Yourself, her showcase just that, with influences from Chuck D, Tupac, and jazzy 90s chords meeting modern Korean lyrics and introspection. But 2016 marked a shift. With the release of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, BTS began to transition from a pure hip-hop base to a broader pop aesthetic. That track incorporated dancehall, reggaeton, and moombahton, but wrapped them in what critics called Baroque mysticism, rather than the upbeat party feel of those genres. By 2018's Idol, they were blending global beats with Korean tradition, incorporating pansori, a Korean storytelling technique, and rhythms mimicking the traditional jangu drum. A genre-spanning discography from their 2014 album Dark and Wild, BTS started to expand, experimenting with R&B, rock, and jazz hip-hop. In the Most Beautiful Moment in Life series, they introduced EDM, before pivoting to moombahton and tropical house in Wings, and You Never Walk Alone. Then came the Love Yourself trilogy, which mixed future bass, Latin pop, and heart-wrenching ballads. Their Map of the Soul series took another leap, embracing funk, trap, pop rock, afro-pop, emo rap, and even hip-hop, a genre fusion all their own. And then there was Dynamite, their full-blown feel-good disco anthem that not only topped charts globally, but brought joy during a pandemic. Even their solo tracks became playgrounds of experimentation. V's Stigma leaned into neo-soul, while Jimin's Lie embodied smooth, flowing R&B, from underground ciphers to stadium symphonies. BTS is not just a reflection of sound. It's a reflection of study, passion, and cultural conversation. They are a global genre in themselves, and their journey has only just begun. Lyrical themes, the heart behind the lyrics. From day one, BTS has believed in one thing above all else, that music should come from truth. Their truth. Rather than following the polished formulas of typical pop lyrics, BTS chose to write their own stories, stories of growing pains, pressure, passion, and pain, all translated into verses that struck a global chord. RM once said it best, "We're born with different lives, but we cannot choose some things." So we thought that love, real love, starts with loving ourselves.